Good afternoon everybody. Okay, so I am Sarabjit and I have come here. I generally hop into meetups because I want to get voted. That is the first thing. Everybody. However, my intention here is not to grant something. That's very clear from my perspective. I have an inclination to learn and read and unlearn on Agile, and I don't consider myself very. To be very frank, I'm still learning a lot, and this journey hasn't started too long. It's been just 8 or 9 months when I did my first Agile Noida. But it has been a long journey throughout, and yesterday only I was made the organizer for Agile Noida. So I got a call and I'm the organizer for Agile Noida this time. I was told that I'll be organizing the Agile Noida, so I'm being told to be a core member of it. So I have been learning throughout, but it doesn't mean that we are branded to some organization or something. I am branded to build, that is for sure. But for the rest of the things, it's a to and fro process through which we interact and move forward. And we would invite you also to a level to talk and don't feel embarrassed. That is the most important thing. Some of us might be new to it, like myself. I was new 8 months before to this way of talking, and today, after attending the conferences, I have that confidence which I can deliver talks. Similarly, is with many of us, right, that in this journey. So I want you all to contribute to this. I was told by Sake well in advance that the presentation needs to be a good one, but I apologize because of my official commitments. I have spent just 2 hours making the presentation, but I'll try my best to give as much as I can to this particular forum, right, and do justice to this. So I'll start this journey with one small thought process that, of course, the topic of today is ISEC, right, and Scrum Gathering. So this Scrum Gathering happened in Hyderabad, and this happened 2 weeks before. And unfortunately, Saket was also in Hyderabad, but he was doing a EMI ACP training, so he could not attend that session. So I'll give you a small brief where the world is going. That is very important. And then I'll take you on a topic which I like most. I feel this will be the next buzzword. I sincerely feel it in Indian companies. I'm not sure about the global organizations, but as India as an organization, for the agilistic way of working, this framework will be a success. So I'm propagating this because I'm an SPC also, and it's my job to propagate that also. I'll start the journey with your ISEC Hyderabad sessions, and then slowly I'll move to the skating pitch. Okay, and I'll change based on your feedback. I want to know. Okay. So my talk would be more towards some revision of what you already know. However, I would want to make it collaborative rather than directive. I want your feedbacks, and then you want to move forward. That is how it is. So I have a small blog which I used to write. I have been writing for the last 6 months. So that's Agile Adda. So I started this journey with a very small thought process. We had to go for Hyderabad, and of course you all are aware of the budget crunch, right? We already have. So as an organization, our organization doesn't sponsor those particular activities. So we had to sponsor ourselves, which was a humongous task because there was something called as ICP coming. So in this story, what I'll tell you, I will take the brands and the story so that you can get along with the Agile world, right? So we had something called as ICP coming in nature, which was very costly. That had to be accommodated. We had flight costs, we had service apartment costs and everything. So our whole thought process started, as a Hyderabad as a city. So Ashish is sitting front bench, he was with me. So we told we'll go by train this time, not through plane. So let's have a. Yeah.
Cost cutting.
This was not cost. It was, of course, a part of it was cost cutting. However, we wanted to have a feeling of it. So after 8-9 years, I was traveling. So I was told very clearly by Ashish that you will not enjoy it. And it really happened in the midway. You had the gastrifications and everything coming because the compartment was bouncing inside. Though it was an AC deluxe complex, but the coach was very good, but it didn't give us the best out of it. So this was a picture which I took from the train itself. I like this picture very much. And then we had, everybody was saying about the Hyderabad biryanis, right? Which is very good. So that was also in our mind when we wanted to land into Hyderabad. So that was something which we thought about when we were moving ahead. And then when we entered the station, and then we took an auto, right? We took an auto, we didn't take a cab, we took an auto and we reached to Banjara Hills, that is where our service apartment was. So once we reached to Banjara Hills, and then by evening we had to go for the pre-conference workshops. The this particular ISEC2014 was happening in Hyderabad in a hotel called as Trident. It's in the high-tech city of Hyderabad, and this particular hotel has rooms to accommodate big conferences. So you have fashion shows and all that others happening. So the first day of this particular ISEC was 2014 was pre-conference workshop. So when we say pre-conference workshops, we had something called as people from PMI giving some workshop. We have Digite head Sudipta Lahari, if somebody knows Digite, it's an ALM. He has his own company where he had a workshop, and we had also a pre-conference workshop on tools and techniques for gaming. So in today's world, games are being used as a medium to propagate Agile and to make it more fun. Having said this, we also had some very senior eminent people there in Hyderabad 2014 Regional Scrum Gathering, which was led by Agile. We had Carol, she was the managing director for Scrum Alliance, and she was a part of it there. Then we had Arne, who himself is a CST, who was here in India a couple of days back. He's more into CSP and into management 3.0 trainings. So on the first evening of that particular, after the pre-conference workshops, we had something called as a CSP retreat. So when we say CSP retreat, you all know what CSP is all about? So CSP is Scrum Certified Professionals, right? Certified Scrum Professionals. So we had the first Certified Scrum Professionals being told to stand on the dais, and then Carol started discussing the problems with Scrum Alliance. That is what, and the way we can improve it further. There were also talks about other vendors joining the picture, how this model can be made more effective. And of course, there was something on management 3.0 and communication, which Arne basically gave. So after this particular talk, we had some, for the first time, we had drinks also. Yeah. So all the speakers were invited for drinks, and no, that is fine. So we had a retrospective in the evening itself, and all of us gathered together and started discussing. So we had, in the pre-conference workshops, we had something on innovation games. So this innovation game, which I will slowly be a bit fast, right? Because I have 45 slides and I want to cover all I'm handling, right? So this particular innovation games workshop which was happening, it had different ways in which you can actually reach an MVP, a minimum viable product while you're actually developing. And it is a very effective workshop. So what you can take from this talk here is not how it is done, but what all can you read, because the time is very less. So just go through the internet and see something on gaming and how MVP can be used. This was done by Sudama, right? What was it? Rahul Sudama. And his, I think Zibia was there, right? Zibia was doing this. This was a very effective picture somebody took. I was fighting with Karen. I was really fighting with her. I was telling her CSP is good for nothing. And I was trying to convince her that you need to actually ensure a strict way of doing CSP now. And he's Anand, he's just the new CST in India. He just got CST 1 week back. He's from Infosys, Ashish, Carol. I think he's from Allscripts. Allscripts did safe, scaled agile framework which I talked about. So Carol discussed a lot about, as Scrum Alliance had discussed a lot about how CSP can be made better. Why do we need a certification with examination for CSP or not, which Saket will tell after this particular talk about CSP. There were different views, and then there was something formed in between a CSL, CSP and a CST. There have to be some bodies in between to control this, because there's a lot of gap as far as the CST and the CSP is concerned. So there was a lot of talk happening, and she was taking feedback also out of it, and which percolated in the last talk when she was leaving after the conference. She gave that feedback also. Sudipta Lahari talked more about Kanban, how it is being implemented, how this tool, there's an Agile tool called as Digite, which is very well doing in big service organizations. So there is a lot of also implemented in Agile tool called as Digite. And Sudipta, who is the main mastermind behind it, actually gave a small session on this particular thing. Something on ISEC 2014, it's the largest Scrum practitioner community in India. Members are roughly 10,680. The conference is not very costly in nature, that I would say. If you keep your eyes and ears open, you will be able to get tickets very soon, right? So the next conference will happen in the next year. However, they want to promote now events within India if you want to get promoted through their body itself. and through the user groups. So the intent is again same. The way we have come here on a weekend is to spread that knowledge and to move forward in this learning journey. So this is a snapshot of the RSGI conference which happened around 3.5 weeks before. We had a lot of gathering from different organizations in Hyderabad, outside Hyderabad. We had speakers outside India as well who were a part of this particular conference. So she's Carol, and she gave something on the vision of Scrum Alliance. She's new to the Scrum Alliance, however, she was ready to gather all inputs about Scrum Alliance and how it wants to function. Secondly, she also discussed very clearly and openly about the ways to improve it better from a Scrum Alliance perspective and what all is required to make it more stronger. The sponsors for this particular event were Broadbridge, it's a Hyderabad-based organization. PMI Chennai was a very important entity there. Then we had Agile Alliance, we had Solutions IQ, and we had Zibia also there. But Zibia was not, a sponsor for it. However, as a part of the ISEC community, Madhur was also involved. Madhur Kanduri, I think. Something which I found very interesting here, which you can take out if you do your own conferences, was an Agile coach camp there. It was being organized there. So what was the concept here is that you had all the senior Agile gurus sitting behind this particular conference. If you have a query, you give a post-it and you put it there, and they'll invite you and they'll talk about it. It's a very good concept which I liked, so I wanted to propagate more of it. Two best concepts which we could find from this conference was a coaching clinic, which was very collaborative in nature. Any new guy or new person could go and talk to the gurus. They're sitting there, they have their own cards from an advertisement perspective and from their business-centric perspective. But very clearly, you have a different question and postcards written there, and that is how you want to propagate the knowledge and move forward. So we had different people from the Agile community just sitting there behind this particular area, and there was a discussion happening around it. So I have written names because I don't remember the names. I'm sorry. So he's Gulo. He was a speaker, keynote speaker for Agile Alliance, this ISEC conference. He's also a Scrum coach for a very reputed organization, and she's Carol. This was a talk where there was something being delivered on spiritual way of working in India. There was a talk happening in the ISEC keynote where they were listening to it. And there was one guy who I admired more. He's from Tel Aviv. His name is, his picture will come through. A very jovial guy called as Telsa. I'll share you this guy is unique. I could find out of all the conferences, this guy is very unique. He is after Lord Ganesha. He says Lord Ganesha is the Scrum Master. Right. So throughout the 2-day event, he was actually after Lord Ganesha, telling that he has very big eyes, he has very big nose, and he's ready to listen to everything. And he wants a lot of info on Lord Ganesha. So if you see my first slide, there is an Om and a swastik and that emblem. So I tried to make a Scrum way of working using those spiritual things. So he wanted to do more research on it, and he's still in contact with me to get more data. But he says Lord Ganesha is the Scrum Master, the global Scrum Master. So somebody was saying Krishna is the global Scrum Master, but he was saying no, Lord Ganesha is the Scrum Master. So a very good guy, a very thoughtful guy, and he's got a designation of as an entertainment manager in his organization. That's a very good brand to take forward. So he's in Tel Aviv, and he requested, can you come to India and come for some conferences. So he's a pretty cool guy, and he accepted the invitation. Let's see how it proceeds forward.
Sorry, was there any information shared with the audience about
No, he said, I want to prepare it in the next talk, I'll tell about it. But because he was seeing these temples in Hyderabad, and they took him to Chennai also, where he saw Lord Ganesha, and he was like totally charged. So he has booked a village that anytime he comes to India, he'll stay in Chennai itself, where there's an idol of Ganesha, and then he'll move forward in his Indian journey.
That's pretty interesting.
So there was something called as the gratitude tree. This is again, do you know this guy? Satisha. So Satisha was here 2 weeks before. So from Greenwich, he was also there, and there was a gratitude tree. So in the gratitude tree, you write your feedback. It's more like a retrospective. Just try to gather from this meetup more things which you can do in your conferences and propagate the Agile journey. It's a collaborative work, that is what I personally feel. So we had Arne was here, we had Gulo, right, and then we had Arnold Rod is from Allscripts, very much into SAFe, he's an Agile coach. Rahul Sudama, who was into gaming, right, more into the gaming part of the conference. She's from Persistent, she was doing more on Scale Agile, how Scale Agile can be propagated, and Persistent, she's doing a phenomenal job. This was a snapshot of a coaching clinic where this guy had come from US for a vacation and he wanted to attend this conference and had his own problems for his organization. He's again a CST, he had come for a talk here in school. This is the guy which I was talking about, and this is Rod. So in his conference there were no slides, right? So his slides started with all the post-its, which he just stuck on the banner of the Regional Scrum Gathering, and he started talking about it. And he has a little bit of accent problem, but then he's a very good speaker in himself. And he did something which was very unique in all the Scrum Gathering, that was an open space. So an open space is something which is the next buzzword which is going to come in the market. There are organizations where people are doing open space rather than meetings and rather than making backlogs these days. So open space is like you are in an office, big room. You stay in the office, you sleep in the office, you come down in the open space, share your talk, write on the wall, go back and sleep, come down, go back and sleep. So you should not be sitting only because you have to sit. That's not the concept of an open space. An open space is something, the biggest duration of an open space which has happened around the world is 3 days. And we had an open space of half an hour. That open space was a phenomenal concept which he introduced. The second concept which he introduced was that everybody was given some post-it cards. These were complimentary cards as an appreciation token to anybody who has done a good job. For example, if somebody has asked a very good question, how would you recognize in the audience itself, right? That person needs to get recognized. So that these token cards were given to everybody, every individual, and anybody who did a good job in the conference was right away, then and there, given this card. It's a token of appreciation and also shows collaboration. So, as far as open space was concerned, what he did was that he kept a small carpet, kept some flowers in between, and invited all of us in a circular fashion, and then told, you know what we are going to do. So we thought that he's going to do some SASM or something, he'll take these things out of it or something. And he was wearing a necklace which had bull horns and all that stuff. So, a very dramatic moment that was, and that time he told that we are making 5 groups, and for example, this is a small group, we make this into 5 groups, anybody can volunteer, people came there, everybody was doing 15 minutes to give a live talk, right? And this actually brought a small retrospective in itself. The whole day conference was gone the first day. People wanted to talk what they had missed in the conference. It happens because there are parallel tracks happening in conferences. You might miss a second track, you might have a track which is functional in nature, which you might have missed, which you were liking. So this particular methodology in which we started talking about it, Ashish did a small penny game, which we came to know which many of the team members are not aware what Agile was. So how do you actually propagate Agile in people? There have to be ways, right? So this was one of the medium which I felt was very, very powerful. It involves people who are just normal people who want to talk and say something. They're not speakers, they're part of the audience, but they want to share their own thoughts. Maybe the thought can work out. And my diagram was, this particular diagram which I put in the front was like appreciated by many of them. So I was never appreciative of it until I just gave the diagram that open space. So this guy, I don't remember his name, I'm sorry, but then he spoke as a keynote in second day about digitization. He spoke about how Agile can help and why Agile will stay. Digitization is all about getting into the digitized way of working. For example, if you're going for a shopping market, to shop something, you can do an online comparison itself of the products on the go. So for example, you know Tesco, right? Tesco, so you know the concept how they work, right? You click at the metro station, you click that snap and the housewife click that snaps and this orders at the go and the vegetable comes at home. So that is how. So the way in which digitization is happening, he had a very clear thought process that roughly 60% of the applications by 2020 will be of no use. Not because they are not good, but because these thick clients will have a different way of functioning. They will have thin layers in front, and around the thin layers they will have supportive systems in nature. And to have supportive systems in nature, they have to be very fast and they have to be very, very flexible. And that will only happen if you have a build every day. The concept of having a build every day, the digitization concept which is coming, so we try to marry the digitization concept with the agile way of working. And he talked about analytics, how analytics does help everyday activities. For example, discounts or even pay pricing, Flipkart and all that stuff. The way it's coming, right? Comparison of different prices and your discount models which are coming into picture. Like Dell is into now making a scooter and a car. They are making cars also. So the car will be cloud based, right? So you have any problem with the car, you'll get an SMS that this particular engine is not, part of that engine is not working properly. So this has to be very flexible in nature, it has to be very agilistic in nature. So we're trying to map the agile way of working, how digitization has already mapped and how it is going to be the next big thing in the market as far as the tech industry is concerned. This was when I was for the scaling agile, which was dear to me. I was volunteering as an anchor chairperson for the event for scaling. So this was he's Naveen, a very down-to-earth guy, one of the best guys which I met in the conference. In case you get a chance, meet him. He's just become a CST, very down-to-earth, lives in Bangalore, very clearly very hardworking. So. He gave a beautiful presentation on a simple thing what a Scrum Master is and what the Agile Manifesto is, and his thought process was phenomenally very good. He talked about storming, norming, forming, how the different processes will happen in Agile teams, and what is good and what is bad, and where teams fail basically. Very basic little talk, but a very effective talk which he gave. Cognizant was there, and from Cognizant, they are big into Agile. Cognizant, if you know, is rated as the best testing company globally. 3 days before, I think, or 4 days before, Unicom has published that report, the survey. So from Cognizant, we had a finance manager, the finance delivery head, who talked about how Cognizant is into Agile, right, and how the global delivery model of Cognizant was working. They talked about distributed teams, how distributed teams are working. Some insight on that. There was a guy who talked about why India is intrinsically agilistic in nature. So when we say intrinsically, we are doing Agile every day. He gave a perception as to how we have it in our DNA itself. It is just a way of our lives, and we should not make it a big buzzword. That is what his talk was all about. We had Savita. Savita is from Zivya Bahuja. She talked about basically feature point estimation, how estimation happens. So I'm trying to gauge you to all the topics which you should read through, right? And that is how you will be able to get awareness and come with this particular thought process and spirit where you all can go together and collaborate. So these are some important topics I'm just going to highlight on. Feature point estimation. We had a sponsor called as Broadbridge. Broadbridge was from Hyderabad itself. They were a key sponsor for this event. And they talked about, are we trustworthy? I mean, we all say that we are doing Agile, we are implementing all the processes in place, but are we really there? This was a very good talk which he actually gave, and he wanted to propagate that as an organization, we all are selling Agile. However, are we really trustworthy to our acts? About self-organization and nurturing teams, we had this particular gentleman, Manoj Vadekar. He also had a talk about how teams could be self-organized, how Scrum Masters should behave. We had some role plays which happened there, right? In the role plays, we had people who had different roles to play, and then there was a small session and a workshop on how to manage this. There's something called as how you can create happy teams. When you say happy teams, you had different thought processes, which was fun, humane, purpose, collaboration, right? Relationship, and which was discussed in this particular. It was from Intuit. This talk on engagement was again given by Elsa. The picture which you saw initially, he just talked for 1 hour on engagement, how engagement can be made proper. He showed us different tips and tricks, how it should be done and how it should not be done. He talked about his experience of bringing a big gym ball. What do you call that gym ball? It's a ball, right? So he used to sit on the ball in his office, and his HR used to comment every day that why have you brought this ball? but many people in the organization started bringing that call after some time, because he's coming from an organization where they accept that particular thought process of change. So he shared different perspective, which was very good. There were some people who talked, the gist of many of the topics were don't just do agile, be agile. That was very, very thought-provoking, that most of the thought processes were around whether we are doing agile in the right fashion or not. This particular snapshot is from Allscripts. Allscripts is an organization for the last 1.5 years is doing scaled agile framework, and it's a real ceremony which is happening as well as the SAFE, which I'll discuss a bit after this particular some of the slides are through. I'll say that how they're doing their planning and all that stuff. There's somebody called as Saeed. He's from PMI Chennai. Just won an award, right? He was in New Delhi. He is into automation, automobile industry, automation, and he talked about how he implemented agile in the automobile industry. He talked about how the concept of hybrid cars came into picture, and how hybrid cars, the components which are being made for hybrid cars, agile is being used as a medium to ensure that the technology of the cars is increasing day by day. And it showed a very good insight, not on the technical thought process, but on the testing thought process, how automobile industry is getting benefited using agile. There was a gentleman who talked about Scrum, starting Scrum. He compared Scrum to as learning a bicycle. That is a very thought-provoking process, where he talked about his son driving a bicycle, and he took the journey along through the Scrum way of working. Persistent, they have now 4 SPCs. Scaled Agile Academy talked about scaled agile framework of working, talked about different thought processes in an organization, which led to the organization implementing SAFE on the agile level. Very good talk by Ajay Kabra at the conference. Ajay Kabra is from a training organization. He talked about agile and CMI. He gave a very good thought leadership on what people think about agile and what people think about CMI. So, for example, I was told in the organization someday that you have to show a productivity factor of 80% in an organization, right? From a CMI perspective, you need to show your CMI statistics before going to the customer. And he talked very clearly about agile, how you can actually showcase to your customers the real thought process and how you can convince them to be on their way of working. So this was a very good talk. In case you get a chance, any time to talk to Ajay about it, do have a word with him. He gave a very thought-provoking thought. This was also one of the best talks which happened. There's again something which happens every time, how retrospectives have to be done, how we have to move forward. I think you all might be aware what a retrospective is, right? So, any effective mechanisms on retrospective, which you think?
Bad side man.
Huh?
Bad side man.
So, basically from a thought-provoking perspective, this was a very good talk. Then we had something on ALM as well in this particular thought process. So if you see properly, whatever is being talked in ALM, whatever is being talked here, is something which was there in the talks. Okay. The current ALM systems which big organizations are implementing are agilistic in nature. They have templates which make you understand what Scrum is. So don't make Scrum a buzzword now. It's a part of the DNA of our working. I'll lead you through talks. How much time do I have? Half an hour? 20 minutes. 20 minutes I have? Okay, fine. So I'll now take you through scaling and how we are into scaling. What I like about scaling, what everyone wants to do in life. So Saket just told that he wants to get into technical trainings now. So I told you I'm trying to scale up now. Right? So everybody in this particular world is trying to scale to the next level. Right? And this particular thought which is coming to all of us has to have a very basic thing in nature, which is very, very important. It's the foundation. So when we say scaling, we all cannot scale at one go. The first and foremost journey to scale is a very good foundation. As a group, as an audience, the first and foremost thing which you need to understand is how teams have to work, how teams have to behave, how the living process has to come into picture, how the work in process limits have to be set, how the policies of an organization have to be set. So scaling, when you say scaling, doesn't mean that it's some big buzzword or something. This is from my previous talk which I did. For me, scaling is something like a set of service apartments in a particular society where you have everything into picture. You have different shops which are there, you have gymnasium there, you have swimming pools there, you have a whole concept of a small town in itself and to move with it. So when we say scaling, we need to ensure that our way of working or our way of delivering value has to be very concrete and has to be very precise. So scaling is embodied with a basic thought process of a very strong foundation. Just by applying lean practices and development and best practices, we feel that we are doing agile is a wrong discover. It's not scaling in nature also, that if you apply lean thinking and have some best practices, scaling application agility at scale is a different thought process in itself. So when we say thought process, it's a self-evolving process. I would say it's like a rhythm which actually attains a different level. The more you do it, the more you come into picture. Now, because of the time crunch, I'll be a bit fast. When you say about scaling, right? When you talk about the Agile Manifesto, we all are aware because this meetup what an Agile Manifesto is. The biggest problem is this particular thought process of Agile Scrum coming into the picture that was very good for small projects. For small projects, it was doing wonderfully well. But as soon as it entered the program level, the portfolio level, you still have resistance in picture. You have resistance from your senior leadership, you have resistance from your middle managers. So there are a lot of problems which are still there as a part of scaling. We don't say that we have a framework here in picture which is called as SAFe, which will solve everything. It will not solve. It will not solve. But I would clearly say it's like fashion rotates itself, it comes back to the way it was. Agile, I sincerely feel after 3 years I would see all these small user groups being merged into one big user group. I'm seeing that. I'm seeing Scrum Alliance coming and collaborating with everyone and doing or somebody else coming and doing and making it an open world. This cannot be a closed world. If the more you try to close, there will be more people, there will be more entrepreneurship, it will be very difficult to control it. So it has to merge together. So as far as the spirit of agility is concerned, there are reasons why agility is a complex thing for big organizations. For example, like our organizations, big Cognizant, HCL, TCS, or even for a small organization, it takes a lot of willpower for the CEO of an organization to decide whether he wants to scale or not, because it is actually empowering his own team. That is very, very important. And does he have the right people with the right intent to move it forward? So theoretically, it looks very, very good. It has its own thought process. So when we started this particular scaling thought process, Agile as a team at a smaller level was doing wonderfully well. The next way of functioning and the way the tools are being designed, even version 1 if you see these days, that's an agilistic tool. They're talking about portfolio now. They're talking about programs now. They're not talking just about projects. So projects, it's fine. Services organizations, I come from a service organization background. Projects, okay, you have to do this in Agile. Okay, fine. So this is the particular thought process. This is, and then at the top you still have those managers and we have the same hierarchy of leadership there. So the thought is not somewhere being diminished. However, at an Agile program and portfolio level, the second wave of Agile has come, and this is going to stay. This is going to stay because it has actually started coming into the picture. Facebook has started giving 2 builds in a day. So Ashish has been doing Mozilla testing. He does Mozilla testing every day. It's an open source testing. So he opens the developer, the window of that particular browser and just does the testing there itself. So the new way of working is to test in production itself. It's not about that you will have different environments and then you will have a testing team fighting on the bugs and then discussing the developer. What Saket talked about, test first approach thought process, it's again the same. The old daddies have come back again with a new wine that is called as test-driven development. Initially the developers are already doing that. The problem with us today is that we have formed factories of testing. We have made service lines of testing as automated testing, right? As big data, as analytics, which has come into the picture. The problem has started seeping in slowly as to we have branded ourselves as small factories. The world demands us to talk together in an integrated fashion. And that integration fashion is dealing with different frameworks. And these frameworks are able to assimilate it. If you see properly this particular framework, it is nothing, looks very complex. It is just a marriage of Lean, Kanban, and normal Scrum. It's just Lean, Kanban and normal Scrum. If you just think about this framework, and if you're a married person and if you have a fathers in your house, you can just think about this framework very clearly, how it is functioning. It talks something on the portfolio level, talks something on the program level, and something on the project level. It also talks about ways in which you have to keep it very streamlined. Right? Many of you might be having an expense register for the whole month, right? You might be writing the different groceries which you want to take. You might need to ensure what is the most important thing which I need to buy this month. That is your MVP. What is the most important thing which you buy this month, where you have to put the most money, so that you can get that product or your children can benefit it. So from that particular thought process, this particular framework just gives you a medium to put your technicality into picture. It can be test-driven development, feature-based development, it can be risk-based testing, it can be even manual testing. So I have some people in Bangalore who I'm closely in touch with who are, so this framework is, there's a framework of SAFe which is 3.0 which has come. I have some friends who are working on this particularly very clearly and they're facing problems. There is a problem with this framework. It is at times costly because it involves a lot of people to come geographically and globally together and talk on a certain medium. However, it has, in some places it has shown that many of the designated positions in the organizations which were there with very big senior shots is not required. So this particular framework has its own goods and bads. Scrum Alliance initially was abolishing this framework. However, there have been more frameworks which have come. Less is there. There is what is that guy's name? DAD, Disciplined Agile Delivery. DAD is also there. Scott Amber's DAD is there. There are many more frameworks which are coming into picture. Even Kent has put some framework which will be talking about this particular regional gathering at Orlando which is happening. So this particular framework talks about agile teams at project levels, program levels, and also at a portfolio level. At the project level, there is nothing much difference. You have a normal team backlog which everybody is aware of. You have different sprints which are running. There is a concept called as HIP here, that is hardening process, or you call it as sprint polishing, or in your normal day-to-day world you say that this is my backup, right? When you do an estimation you say it's my backup or something. So what they have done for every particular release, they have put a HIP in place, that is a hardening process sprint, and they also have something called as spikes. So people who have done an ISEC, I think Saket would have put what a spike is inside your DNA. So that spike is a very important thought process here also, as far as the R&D is concerned. The good part of this framework is that it doesn't pressurize you much. As a team, there are certain ceremonies which happen. That's very important. A 2-day ceremony happens called as a PSI ceremony, where everybody from small teams to big teams come together. The CEO of the organization of the unit talks about the MVP of the product and what he needs to achieve within a span of 6 months. There's a concept called as agile release trains here. Like you have different trains. If you go to Rajiv Chowk, right, and stand for a train, and you miss one train and you board the next train for that after 2 minutes. So you have a concept of agile release trains coming here, where there are different trains which are coming, which are running, and you need, as an individual, need to decide which train you need to board and move forward. So it might happen you might not complete a task as a part of one particular sprint activity, and you can go into the next sprint. At a program level, you have something called as a program backlog. I'm not sure whether you have heard about a program backlog. There's a program backlog in nature, and in the program backlog, you have something called as a system team, component team and system team. So system team is an end-to-end functional team itself, right? And component team is people who are dedicated on something. They decide very clearly what needs to be done, right? It's a part of your advisory council, right? There are people who are very technical in nature. So it has a program backlog in nature. The good part of this framework, or any other scalable framework, because I'm reading now Don Wright's broad development flow, a very tough book, because I'm weak in maths. So, but very clearly, this particular framework has something which is called as a sideways flow. It is not top down, it is not bottom up, it is sideways. Generally, the frameworks which are coming in nature, which are talking about scalability, are sideways, because if they are not sideways, they will never be able to maintain the balance of work in progress limit. The concept of a rhythmic flow will only come into picture if you have system variability. Variability in a system is very important. By making a factory, you are actually diminishing variability, you are improving your lean. As a lean, you can decide very clearly what needs to go and what is waste. But variability is important because it gives you a creative X factor that something new can be made as a part of the process change. And these particular frameworks allow that. they have a presence where they diverge sideways. The major decisions are taken at this level, and there are reforms due to these decisions. There are reforms at this level and this level as well. This is a portfolio level. I don't think many of us are working on portfolios currently. So there are PMOs who are working on projects for 6 to 8 years. They are deciding how projects need to function. So you have mechanisms of Kanban, value stream mapping. Value stream mapping means, let's take Flipkart. So Flipkart decided that they will be venturing out for music also some days before. So that was a value stream for them. They have also introduced a concept of just-in-time delivery, where you will get a delivery on the same day or something of that kind. Amazon is thinking about having those small overcrafts, or what you call them, to give it to the destination place. So there are different value streams which are associated. So this particular framework, if you try to implement it, it's not an easy framework. I won't say it's an easy framework. To get into this framework for an organization takes 6 to 8 months. However, it actually makes the whole organization distinct. You're from CSE, right? Yes. So your current CEO who is there in the organization, I think there are many posts which have gone out in CSEs, and it's totally slice centric now. So CSE as an organization, Infogain as an organization, they are doing good amount of SAFe. CSE has actually removed many of their managers, and they have put very technical people as managers. They are implementing SAFe. There's a top leadership from CSE which is talking about having a value in place every 2 months. That is very important. Dell as an organization, performance appraisals, your bench, you understand what a bench is? Resource pool, how it has to be managed. They are talking very clearly about what value is that particular person doing. So there are different ways in which frameworks work. One is I'm just giving an insight. The only difference is that the teams are the same. It's again 7 plus minus 2 people. However, there are groups. If you want to take out one thing today, go in the evening, just go to Google and type Spotify. There's a case study of 4 to 5 pages. Read that case study very well. We all have come from small towns, right? You will understand what a village is and what a tribe is, right? Just read that case study. You'll come to know what scaling is all about. It's a very good case study on scaled agile. Here the concept is about an agile release train, not about a sprint. Sprint is a small time box, and agile release train is at a program level. These are different organizations which have done. The success factor of scaling is not because you need to keep a GPS and it has to tell you how it needs to be guided. However, you will learn through your mistakes and move forward. That is what scaling is all about. Every organization is different. As a part of the management thought process, it's moving from command and control to a more collaborative world. Again, from an MPT process, it's not big upfront design at front, it slowly starts evolving. That is what scaling talks about. Scaling doesn't talk about that at one go you will have everything in place. It will take some time. Again, we talked about release trains. If you understand release trains, it gives the whole program a thought process. When you stand up in Rajiv, so if you miss a train, you get tensed. So the next train is coming in 2 minutes, right? You feel that, right? So your thought process or your value analysis of a particular thought is there, right? Then I will do my delivery part, I'll reach my destination part. However, I might miss some trains. That concept has to be evolved on a financial contractual model. That is where there are different tools which are coming into picture. That is where estimation is being changed for agilistic way of working. Again, it's a back and forth journey. The people never thought this could be successful, but NIT, I think 4 months before, had a job opening for a SAFe consultant and a SAFe practitioner, which was very unique in Indian art process, but it has not. Bangalore is totally into it. I have friends in Snyder, Sony is into big time into SAFe. Sony is implementing roughly 80 projects on SAFe. SAFe or scaled agile, or you may call different DAD, this will only be successful if you have proper data handy. Germany football team, if you have done some research or read some news, they were using analytics as a medium to conquer the World Cup, which they finally did. So everybody is into it. Even your Indian cricket team, they actually see every move in action and record the data and try to ensure what is the best MVP way of working, in which an IPL sprint can be a success or a test match can be a success. So to make a test match successful, it's very difficult. It's again a scalable way of working. a small iterative sprint could be considered as a 2020 batch in itself, which embodies the principles of scalability in the picture. So that was my talk all about. I just wanted to give an insight on Hyderabad Scrum Gathering. I just wanted to what you can take out from here is that you should know the name of people who are good in the market, who have a thought process. That is what my intent was. Good topics which you should read at home, and something on scalability, because this is going to come. Mr. Modi also today is talking about what he needs from his ministers every 3 months. Right? So he's talking about a 3-month program, and then he talks about different ministers on different programs, and he's already put Agile release trains in picture, and he's making them work. Right? So the whole concept of scalability has come into picture. It's not that just by giving sermons people will listen. People want to see in action. Right? So it's about bringing it's a collaborative work. We all should understand and try to live in it, and not feel unappeased that this is wrong or this is right. It's now going to be a collaborative. Thank you.
Certifications.
Certifications. I am entitled to give a certification for SAFE. There are 2 certifications: SAFE Agilist and SAFE Professional. The certifications can be done using Scaled Agile Academy. That is, those are who have applied to do this certification. So we might have a group of 5 to 10 people. If they are grouped together, we can talk to the academy and get through the certification. As far as the cost of certification is concerned, it is based on the business model. However, at a very ballpark level, the certification will cost 20 plus and less than 30 plus. That at a market level, it is very costly currently because it's the buzzword which is there. To become an SPC, it's much more costlier. It took me roughly 1,10,000 to do that. But the exam is not easy. People who feel that they'll be able to clear the exam, it's like a PMP in itself, if you do it through the right fashion. I'm not sure of the other ways of doing, because I was totally horrified when I gave the exam. So, it is an exam similar like PMP. You'll feel all the questions are right. It's difficult because at portfolio level, many of people don't understand what Agile is. That is where it's difficult. However, if you have an opportunity to do SPC, go ahead and do it, not because you want to have a earning business model, but if you want to understand scalability in life, that is very important. That is what the takeaway which you can take from it. At Dell also, we are implementing scalable nature. So when they talk about policies, I just take it to this framework and try to map it. And I see somewhere that this is fitting everywhere. So do read about scalable frameworks, that will be helpful. Test-driven development, business-driven development, all are foundations. Unless until you know them, it will not work. So what Sarabjit talked about is again very, very important. What Naveen is talking about is very, very important from that thought process. I mean, though you might consider that these are small tokens from a financial model, but you don't have time in your life also to understand everything at one go. The world is totally integrating these days. You need to be aware how it is performed, right? So it's not that tough, but however you need to get into it and understand at least one project, and then you can go to the scalable framework. I was also a developer for 6 years, so I understand things a bit better. Had I been a normal person in this today's industry, it would be very difficult for me. But please understand, these are not new words. These are the old words. People have done it, developers have done it before. However, there is a need for these systems to work under the Lean, Kanban and Scrum way of functioning. We need to do the certifications. Your organization will never have so much time in life for you to just make you certified for this.
Question.
Yeah.
Like if we say, see that is agile.com. So we couldn't find these certificate SPC and SA in India basically. Those events are not scheduled in India. I got confused from where I can get them. Like in Scrum Alliance, you can get the details for CSMO, CSPO in India. But if you open that website and do browse your calendar, so you can get the details for Zurich or Virginia or something. But there is no place for India. Last time it happened in April, I believe. In April in Bangalore, right? And now the calendar there is no entry for India.
So see, every business model works based on demand and supply.
Right.
In India, the problem which might happen from a business perspective, if you have too many SPCs, you will have the whole of Indian community traveling outside them. Right?
Yeah,
They want to, no, they are doing it twice in a year or once in a year in India.
Okay.
But yes, because Dean himself gives those certifications, most of them. So he's traveling around the world. If you see his calendar, you will have SPC every month also. At least 4 or 5 SPCs.
Yeah, that's when actually I'm talking in terms of the like location, like it's
Yeah, so
not
from a
the
location
capital.
perspective, they have divided it as Asia. For Asia now, there's somebody called as Lata. She's going to take care of Asia. So she's giving trainings as part of the SPC is concerned for all the Asian region. Lata is the person. Initially it was somebody else who's now left. So Dean has a core group of 7 to 8 people, and he has, like you have CSTs, you have different CSTs. Now he has also allocated a group of 8 to 9 people who can impart SPC training.
I got your point, but there must be some platform or the forum
Honestly,
which we can, because as I said, like if we, what should be the medium? If I go to the website, then there is no entry for the Indians, so how can I do the payment, all those things. Like,
So
as we do, that's a Scrum Alliance very, the simplest thing. Just you do the payment, they will give you, share the details of venue and all that stuff. But in Scaled Agile, so how will we approach? Like I've been working in Scaled Agile for last 1 year, but I don't know how to go ahead with the Scaled Agilist or this SPC.
No, so if for example, that's a good talk. So I am entitled to give a safe Agilist certificate. I can give it. We will have an exam which is there, and then you can enroll it. You can talk to anybody through the forum, and then we can talk on this. However, if you want to, you're talking about safe Agilist or SPC?
No, I'm talking about the safe certifications. Right?
Safe certifications, Agilist certifications, and I think Saket is planning to do it, Amin is also planning to do it, Zibia is also doing it. There are different, in NCR itself, they might invite people from outside also, or within the area itself where they can move in as far as the safe Agilist certification. As far as
connected with the group.
anything with the group,
Stay connected with this group.
stay connected with the group. And then, I mean, for example, if I want to give it in Dell, I'm in SPC, so I can give it to Dell to 100 people. I can give those certificates using the academy. So if you have somebody who's an SPC within your organization itself, he can pollinate the knowledge flow. That's not an issue at all. If you want an external certification to be done, you can approach the different user groups, and they will invite people as soon as the progress.
So in short, we need to get in touch with these user groups to get the certification
Yes.
done, right? Not
Yes.
with the scale.
See, there is a problem behind it because the way CSM model has been evolved, there is a risk also for it to get sublimed. It has to be slowly propagated so that everybody is cross-pollinated very properly. That is the risk I think which he's seeing currently. But I personally feel this is going to stay, and I am hearing about Scrum Alliance talking to them also how we can include both the people together and move it to the next level. So that's an interesting point. Thank you. I think.